Judges ready? Opponents ready? Partners ready? And audience is ready? You're not ready? My time starts now. Dear opponents and judges, I'm very happy to debate on such an interesting and controversial topic. Today, as the con side, we firmly believe that cryptocurrency is more harmful than beneficial today. Before I begin, I'd like to give some definitions. According to Oxford Lexical and Investopedia, cryptocurrency is a digital currency in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units of currency and verify the transfer of funds, operating independently of a central bank using a decentralized system. Our framework is that cryptocurrency still needs improvements, and the only way to do that is to acknowledge the harm and disadvantages. Observation 1. So, judges, I want you to know that we're not saying that cryptocurrency should be banned or is 100% bad. But as nothing is 100% perfect and absolute, there are still more harm than benefit today. Contention 1. Insecurity. Subpoint A. Hacking. Cryptocurrency as the whole system working online are easy to be hacked by hackers. Therefore, the private information and currency system will be taken away and utilized by other people. Bitcoin as the most popular cryptocurrency is more threatened by distributed denial of service (DDoS) attacks. Also, the new releasing of quantum computers and quantum technology make hackings on people like us even much easier. These attacks can carry out using just a laptop and internet access. Subpoint B. ICO initial coin offering fraud. ICO is one of the worst cryptocurrency scams. Bitcoin Savings and Trust sets up an ICO company. Unwitting investors were promised hefty returns of 7% a week, and the company ended up fraudulently stealing more than 265,000 Bitcoins. This matters because you don't want to lose all your money in an investment and feel like being fooled. Cryptocurrency is virtual and cannot be compared with cash or credit cards. Everything about it is unknown to most people, and we have no way to clearly distinguish those scams. It will cause a lot of phishing. Contention 2. Crime. Since cryptocurrencies are decentralized and cannot be under the government's eye, it encourages crime. Subpoint A. Trafficking. We concern that virtual currencies like Bitcoin, already known to be used for illegal transactions, including sex and drug trafficking, will play an even bigger crime role as more investors use it as their preferred payment choice. The ugly worldwide industry of human trafficking is growing at a rampant rate because of cryptocurrency. Recently, it has crossed the dark milestone of 150 billion US dollars. And also, Judge, you see, trafficking is happening around us because of cryptocurrency. It is encouraging crime and harming those people. Our kids are being kidnapped, our girls are being hurt, and our people are being suffering. Subpoint B. Dark web. Cryptocurrency supercharged the dark web and led to the formation of massive black markets, many of which are still doing millions of dollars of trades as we speak. That's the fuel keeping the dark web alive and kicking. Subpoint C. Murder. People are committing suicide because of their losing cryptocurrency. 2 examples. A high school student in South Korea has committed suicide after a sharp decline in the market value of Bitcoin. A Bitcoin trading platform founder committed suicide after losing more than 100 billion US dollars in Bitcoin. And also our contention 4, we want to talk about inequality. 80% of Bitcoin, actually it's contention 3, sorry. Contention 3, inequality. 80% of Bitcoins are in the hands of the early players. Those people earn money from the people joining after them. It is a classic Ponzi scam, and there are bubbles in cryptocurrency such as Bitcoins. Cryptocurrency has broken down regional boundaries, allow people to communicate easily wherever they are, and allow more people to find their own abilities, interests, and people with similar values. The result is that the strong people who may have been distributed, achieved in different regions because of cryptocurrency, have achieved strong and strong cooperation. That is, the strong are strong and the weak are naturally weak. The gap between the rich and the poor is essentially due to the cognitive gap. Blockchains can only change the relationship of production, but they cannot change people's perception of things. Thus, we believe cryptocurrency is more harmful than beneficial. Thank you, judges. Thank you, opponents.
Judges ready? Opponents ready? Audience ready? Okay, so my time starts now. Today we're going to debate whether cryptocurrencies are more beneficial than harmful, and we stand on the pro side. We'll start with the definitions. Cryptocurrency is a type of digital currency that uses cryptography for security and anti-counterfeiting measures. To win this debate, the con side needs to prove that the magnitude of negative impacts of cryptocurrencies under proper use in the long run outweigh their merits in relation with reality, while pro needs to prove the opposite. Contention 1, security. There are several reasons that cryptocurrency is safer than legal tenders. First, legal tenders have the possibility of being stolen, lost, or damaged, while for cryptocurrency it's different because it uses the technology of blockchain, making it difficult to tamper with a single record because a hacker would need to change the block containing that record as well as those linked to it to avoid detection, according to Curtis Miles, technical lead at IBM. Second, account safety. Legal tender accounts have higher risks of information leakage, leading to consequences such as database corruption, confidential information leakage, or even theft of intellectual property. While cryptocurrency don't have this issue since participants have their own private keys and personal digital signature. If a record is altered, the signature will become invalid and the peer network will know right away. Third, inflation. For legal tenders, governments control the supply of currency by printing units of fiat money or demand additions to digital banking ledgers. And the government might release superfluous banknotes maliciously, resulting in a loss of the wealth of the citizens. While in contrast, the total amount of decentralized cryptocurrencies remains the same since the day they are released. Companies or governments cannot produce new units and have not so far provided backing for other corporate entities which hold asset value measured in it. The security of cryptocurrency helps reducing the risks of using legal ledgers such as hunger, food and water shortage, as well as other problems such as a lack of healthcare facility and education, giving people increasing trust and safer money depositing system. Contention 2, convenience in payments. It is much faster and cheaper to pay or transfer money with cryptocurrencies than with legal currencies. If you choose to transact money to another account, you will have to fill several forms as part of the transfer application, offering information like the names, the exact address, and even the income proof. You'll also have to pay a transaction fee. After the bank checked your application, the money will be successfully transferred within about 1 week. On the contrary, if you accomplish money transfer with cryptocurrencies, time and money are saved. All you need to do is to click your mouse and the transfer will be done. It is a common sense that everyone wants to get the money as soon as possible in a transfer, so cryptocurrencies are actually a favorable and suitable choice for us. Another case is that when you buy products, you possibly pay by WeChat or credit card, and the bank charges money from that. This leads to the rise of the product, meaning that every day when we buy things, the amount of money that we pay is higher than the original price. If you pay by cash, then it means that you just give money to the shop for nothing. However, this never occurs when it turns to cryptocurrencies payments. No third parties charge from you or the store. So when you pay by cryptocurrencies, you pay the original price, which can save you money. By saving this amount of day by day, after months or years, this amount could be huge and could be used on healthcare, education, and other things. At the same time, businesses will have more money for business activities, which could lead to economic growth and push the country's GDP eventually. According to the framework and definition, we have proved our contentions. Overall, we urge a pro ballot. Thank you.
Time starts now. So my first question is a very simple economic basic question. What is inflation? You just have to provide me with definition. Yeah, it's the... I've already asked this question for several times here.
The decrease in value of currency.
Actually, it's not. It is the result that decrease the value of some money like US dollar or Venezuela's dollar. It is the value itself decreasing. It's the result. Actually, inflation is happening everywhere, anytime, from time to time, from countries to countries, it happens everywhere.
Well, actually, the
what you said is not true.
The most common cause of inflation is government printing too much legal ledgers. And you talked about inequality, which I would like to ask that how does that exactly have harm on the society?
Oh, it's obvious. First, if you want to say something is beneficial, you have to provide evidence that supports your contention and prove to the judges and to me that it benefits most people, right?
Then do you agree that it is actually beneficial?
I've already told you. The 80% of Bitcoins are in the hands of, I'm answering your question, I'm trying to follow up. 80% of the Bitcoins are in the hands of the early players. How can that seem to me benefit most people, more people? It is actually a harm. So I believe it's my turn to ask the question. I've already asked you about the definition of inflation. Then, can you tell me like you said that cryptocurrency is limited, right? It's a two-part question. You said that cryptocurrency is limited when it achieves some of the amounts. Like for Bitcoin, it's 21,000.
Yes, since the day it's released, the amount does not
But
change.
do you know the number of those cryptocurrencies? It's like above 9,000 types of different cryptocurrency. And Facebook Libra is begin to entering this new field. Cryptocurrencies, more types of cryptocurrency are entering this.
Since you're talking about Libra, which I am glad to hear, it is not released yet, and it is, according to definition, different from a traditional cryptocurrency, since it's not totally...
What I'm trying to say is that cryptocurrencies, different types of different cryptocurrencies are introduced every day, every minute we're debating on this topic. So it is actually unlimited. Think about that. If governments can just print out money, why can't cryptocurrency companies just give out another cryptocurrency? It is much more simpler than those countries.
You know the nature of cryptocurrency is not like that. Now, I would like to ask that, do you agree that when you're talking about early players own most of the Bitcoin and increase inequality, do you agree that the ones that own cryptocurrency actually benefit from it and those who don't does not?
Can you repeat that?
Do you agree that those who own cryptocurrency benefit from it, and those who do not benefit from it, and resulting in inequality?
That's not what I just said. I told you that because of the Bitcoin controlling in some of the early players, it is hard for those majority to catch up with those early players, and that causes inequality. Thank you, judges. No. Almost ready? So, time starts now. As the content of this debate, I'm going to rebut all the contentions that the pro team has. First, they say that blockchain is safer. First, they say that blockchain is safer and can be used to transfer money through blockchain. But however, blockchain itself has certain problems. SHA-256 is widely used in blockchain hashing function operation and implementations. However, it is susceptible to the length extension attack. Using this attack, a hash of signed message can be modified by appending some attacker-controlled data to the original message without knowing the shared secret. Ferguson and Shiner suggest double SHA-256 as a way to prevent the length extension attack. These hash functions are also susceptible to bursting attacks, which are probabilistic attacks that breaks collision resistance by repeated evaluations. And also, there is a 51% attack. The blockchain relies on a distributed consensus mechanism to establish mutual trust. However, the consensus mechanism itself has 51% vulnerability, which can be exploited by attackers to control the entire blockchain. More precisely, in PoW-based blockchains, if a single miner's hashing power accounts for more than 50% of the total hashing power of the entire blockchain, then the 51% attack may be launched. In January 2014, after the money pool Hash.io reached 42% of the total Bitcoin computing power, a number of miners voluntarily dropped out of the pool. And Hash.io issued a press statement to reassure the Bitcoin community that it would avoid reaching the 51% threshold. In POS-based blockchains, 51% attack may also occur if the number of coins owned by a single miner is more than 50% of the total blockchain. And they also talked about solving corruption and owning your own private key about ECDSA. However, we have mentioned in our constructive speech, and I'm going to provide some evidence that quantum computer can also crack ECDSA. A user in it's the most popular cryptographic algorithms have long been threatened by the looming area of quantum computing. ECC and ECDSA, being based elliptic curve discrete logarithm problem, are among those algorithms threatened by the expectation of quantum computers in the near future. Quantum computers with a sufficient number of qubits and Toffoli gates, using a modified version of Shor's algorithm, will be able to break ECC. And also, they talked about transfer money using blockchain. So there's also hackers, so the transfer may not be as successful and the successful rate may be low. According to the Associated Press, UN experts have been investigating that at least 35 cases of Pyongyang-backed hackers using cyber attacks to raise funds for military purposes. These cases are known to have impacted institutions such as banks and cryptocurrency exchanges in 17 other countries. A summary of the report stated that these attacks raised as much as $2 billion And also in their third contention, they say that they could use blockchain to use that for remittance, but also this financial system works well for almost all transactions, but it still suffers from the weakness of the trust-based model. We cannot completely carry out non-reversible transactions, since financial institutions cannot avoid mediating disputes. The transaction cost increases because of cost mediation, thus limiting the minimum practical transaction size and cutting off the possibility for small causal transactions. And there is a broader cost in loss of ability to make non-reversible payments for non-reversible services. These costs and payments uncertainties can be avoided in person by using physical currency, but no mechanism exists to make payments over a communications channel without a trusted party. So that's all for the con-rebuttal. Thank you, judges. Thank you, opponents.
So, judge ready? Opponents ready? Opponents ready? And audience ready? So my time starts now. So to review this debate, let's first look at our framework and our opponent's framework. In their framework suggests that cryptocurrency actually need improvements and it's still in its infancy stage, while they didn't provide any winning conditions for this debate. So therefore our framework should be automatically applied, which is first, we should measure these benefits and harms, and second, under proper use in the long term. So our framework should be applied. And moving on to their conditions. So in their first condition, they talk about the weak security of cryptocurrency. Well, this is actually wrong, because the thing is that actually insecure is a platform for cryptocurrency, but not the cryptocurrency itself. Well, in our conditions, we have already suggested that the safe thing is the blockchain and technology that it used, which means that in this case, we can't blame the cryptocurrency for this, because according to our condition 1, the security mainly comes from this technology of the blockchain, and thus we could see that in the long run, we have this kind of platform. As long as we can solve this problem, having a safe platform, their weak security point doesn't stand at all. And there is a second point talking about crime. So the logic here is that it's not actually the cryptocurrency who causes these criminals to have these crimes, but actually these criminals themselves want to do so. So in this thing, the logic here is that the criminals want to commit these crimes. They choose cryptocurrency as a way of these crimes, and therefore they use it to commit them. That does not mean that the cryptocurrency necessarily facilitates these crimes. So this is a seriously logical mistake. And if just make an analogy, if I give a knife to a normal person, he will not just use it and stab the others. Instead, he will use it to chop the vegetables and will do whatsoever. But for the criminals, they can use whatever thing to use as a weapon, and therefore the cryptocurrency is just one of their methods. And thus, they talk about that actually this high volatility of cryptocurrency can actually causing many people to have this suicidal thoughts. Well, this is actually not true, because in this case, let's see cryptocurrency as a kind of investment. So when you are doing investment, you are actually taking this risk. You are actually aware of these risks that cryptocurrency is having this volatility, which means that people should be aware of, because, for example, when they are buying stocks, they should be aware of that its quantity and its price will change tomorrow. So therefore, this high volatility should be accepted by the people. And third, they talk about this inequality. Well, the logic here is also wrong for them, because just because many people have it and they're beneficial from it does not mean that we're necessarily cutting it. That means that we only need to do is to let more people have it, and for those who don't, we just let them have it. So they've already agreed with that those people who have this cryptocurrency will have these benefits, which is agree with our point. So therefore, this inequality also doesn't stand, because we have a solution, and this is not what we are talking about, the benefits and harms in this topic. So moving on to their rebuttal about our point. So their first our point suggesting that this insecurity problem that is that hackers can actually hack into these things and steal people's money. Well, I've already rebutted that the thing that is actually insecure is this platform for cryptocurrency, but not this cryptocurrency themselves. So therefore, in this topic, we're comparing these benefits and harms brought by cryptocurrency, which means that in this point, our point still stands. And their second point, they talk about this convenience in payment. Well, we have already stated that to see this impact, we need to accumulate the transaction fee saved each time, and see this impact is huge in the long term, which is according to our framework. So therefore, their rebuttal doesn't stand at all, and therefore we urge for the pro ballot. Thank you.
So it's me to ask the first question.
Yeah.
So you said in the rebuttal that you could let them have cryptocurrency to eliminate inequality. So I want to ask, how do you make people to have cryptocurrency?
So first thing is that this in solving inequality problem is now we are discussing about. In this topic, we're comparing the benefits and harms brought by cryptocurrency.
But inequality is a harm to the society.
So inequality is not a harm because you're just admitting that these people who have this cryptocurrency
So you think sexual
this
discrimination
benefit.
is not a harm to the society?
So this discrimination first is another thing, and second, I'm saying that
Why is this another thing?
Because
just answer the question directly. How do you make people to have cryptocurrency, as you said in rebuttal?
So the first thing I want to answer is that this method is not we're talking about in this topic.
Just answer the question directly. Why do you say that you can let people to have cryptocurrency? Why can you enforce them to have it?
I'm not enforcing them to have it. I'm saying that the solution to solve this problem.
Wait. You misunderstood our contention.
Sorry,
We said
I have already answered your question. I think it's time for me to ask your question.
Okay.
So my question is, who do you think should be blamed for the cryptocurrency, for these crimes, or the criminals themselves?
Well, in our contention, we said that cryptocurrency encouraged crime, but instead of cryptocurrency caused crime. You may be misunderstood.
I'm not saying that they could crime, but the crime point is yours, and you're mentioning that these criminals are actually using them, which means that cryptocurrency facilitates these crimes, which is not true, as I rebutted, because cryptocurrency is a tool, and the criminals are using this
it's a tool and it encourages crime.
Since you agreed it's a tool and it's a crime, so therefore the criminals should actually be blamed for, because they can, if you want to do bad things,
cryptocurrency encourages crimes. Thank you. Cryptocurrency encourages crime, not causes crime.
I'm not saying
it makes crime rates to go up.
So the thing is that you misunderstand my point. My point is that they are not actually facilitating these crimes because the criminals are doing bad things.
They are not facilitating the crime, but they make crime rates to go high. So I think it's my time to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know how blockchain works?
Yes. So we've already given in our construction.
Do you know what kind of arithmetic uses does blockchain use?
So can you make the relation with the topic about this?
Okay, so you said in your contention that the only way to send cryptocurrency to other people's account is by using a platform called blockchain, isn't it right?
Blockchain is not a platform.
It's not a platform. So do we need this technology to send cryptocurrency? Is that true?
So the transaction does not happen using blockchain, but we are saying cryptocurrency are using this technology.
So it's using this technology. So do you know how to work? How does this work? If you don't know, let me answer it. It's using SHA-256, this kind of arithmetic mathematics to mine bitcoins and to transact bitcoins. But SHA-256 has certain problems. So cryptocurrency and blockchains are not secure enough. Thank you, judges.
No.
3 minutes. Audience ready? Judges ready? Opponents ready? Obviously, opponents ready. My time starts now. So I'm gonna restate their contentions and their framework. So it seems a lot shock to me. They keep repeating the phrase "in the long run," but according to the resolution, I just checked that. On balance, cryptocurrencies are more beneficial than harmful. Which we're arguing about is about now. It is present time. It is present. It's present. But they keep repeating in the long run, which is a little bit biased. And also, their first contention is about blockchain. My partner has successfully proved that blockchain is not that secure. Blockchain cannot be relied on in the long run, as they just mentioned. And also their second contention is about inflation. First, they have misconstrued the definition of inflation. Clearly, it's basic economy, but they don't know. And their third contention is about payments. Maybe that's two, but it's included. Payments. About payments fee. Do you think that back in time we used gold, we don't have to pay those heavy taxes, those transaction fees, but after time to time, currencies just happen. Currencies just were created. And I haven't explained it to you. That's how the nature works. Maybe you think that a bunch of people trying to do benefits to the people will actually do benefits to the people. Government politicians say that every time when there's an election. But what's the status quo? What's the truth? Compared to their contention, our contention and framework talks about now. And also, our framework is very simple. We want to improve this potentially growing cryptocurrency. The only way to improve that, judges and audiences as well, the only way to improve that is to acknowledge the harm so that we can improve that, right? But they're just telling us in the long run, it is biased. Our contention, one, is about crimes. Because of the insecurity of blockchain, the method, there are crimes. They say that crimes is because of criminals. Yes, the first thing we think about is about criminals. But without the help of currency, the crime rate won't be that high because criminals can easily commit crimes with the help of cryptocurrency. It is more easier to commit crimes. Our second contention is about those specific crimes, not just the cyber attack thing. We talked about people dying. We talked about children being kidnapped. We talked about those people suffering, refugees suffering. But they just provide us with data, pointless data, without any impact, without any magnitude. And also, they have misconcepted with our third contention about inequality. Inequality is very obvious, just as I mentioned in my contention. Thank you, judges. Thank you, opponents.
Judges ready? Opponents ready? Audience ready? Okay, so my time starts now. First, I will compare our framework. They do not provide support on their framework in the part of improvement, and they seem to have already forgotten how present includes now and future. So I don't understand why it is wrong for us to stress on how cryptocurrency could affect the future. Now, they provide a general definition of cryptocurrency about decentralization, and in the first crossfire, they also talked about Libra, which technically saying is not decentralized and is actually conflict to their own points. Now, moving on to their contention, they argued about hacking and insecurity, and that is countered by our side that it was the platform that it was unsafe and the blockchain is always secure. The opposition points out the mechanism has a problem, but they didn't really say what was the problem and what are the consequences. And they also refuses to mention our illustration on how blockchain works, which is that when you are changing one block, you have to change thousands or millions that are connected to it. And they seem to refuse to acknowledge that. And they also talked about crime. They found the wrong target to blame. Cryptocurrency is a tool, not an incentive. But they always seem to define incentive and the tool as same thing. It's not that when you see there's a cryptocurrency you want to conduct crime. It's that you want to conduct crime, and there's this cryptocurrency that could make your crime more secure and will decrease the risk of you being found. So you use the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is being taken advantage of, and the opposition refuses to acknowledge that relationship. They also talked about how high volatility may cause harm, but we also countered that by saying investment comes with risks, and all the users of cryptocurrency should acknowledge that they are aware of that risk. So their point does not stand either. And they also talked about inequality and blamed us for not replying to that, which I would say is not true, because they talked about those who have cryptocurrency will have the benefits from it, and those who do not use cryptocurrency will not. And we provide an alternative, so that problem is solvable, but they refuse to acknowledge that either. So they seem to have always been avoiding our question and our resolutions provided, and keeping blame in us for doing that. So from our point, our framework and contentions stand much better than theirs, and is more realistic and reasonable. So thank you, that's all I want to say.
My time starts now. So you talked about risks, about those investments. You're saying that we're using cryptocurrency, the main is to use it as